would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ms. Dalvin, have you captured our roll call?
I have captured the roll. We are one shy of quorum, so I think we will just have to postpone any action until we either get one more person or in February, we will take that action.
Okay, all right, very good. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to be recognized or would like to speak to the board? Okay, very good. So since we do not have quorum, we will not have an approval of our minutes currently for the November 12th meeting. So we'll go ahead and move forward past that. There were no committee meetings in this month. However, there are a few items to report. For the Finance Committee, the November full year finance statements are in your packet on page 5. And Sutton, would you please provide a brief review of the November fiscal year 26 financial statements for us this evening?
Sure. Yes, for the month of November, tank operated about 538,000 under budget levels, mostly due to labor expenses, below average, and employee medical expenses were also 88,000 below average. And then as far as ridership goes, we were about 7.3% down from last year due to decreases in FRT, Picture Transit, and the South Bank Shuttle. So you ended up about 2,000 less than what we budgeted, so pretty close. But any questions from you guys?
No. Hearing that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sutton.
Thank you.
Okay, and for our Operations and Safety Committee report, we do not have one to share currently. However, the stats are on the packet beginning on page 15 of your packet. John Young, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight related to our operations report out?
I think Missy's going to discuss something in the packet, but I will let you know that we were down a full 25 accidents from fiscal 24 last year. So more to come on that in February.
That's a great achievement. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, John.
I want to take just a minute and recognize Tim Stamper, who retired with 39 years of service here. So great job.
Love to see that. I saw the pictures posted.
Yeah.
This is very good. Congratulations to him. Okay, next we'll have a presentation of our special services from Cal Clifton, our manager of special services.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
We're going to delve into my little world for a little bit. So this is an update or a year in review, if you will, on our special services department.
We're going to start with Tank Plus.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, Matthew told me different, so I will have a chat with him later. Okay, so yes, we apparently are going to start with Tank Plus. And you can see our monthly ridership. Now this is for calendar year 2025, a total of 3,859. Of particular interest, if you look at September, we almost in just that 1 month had accomplished what we'd accomplished in 4 months when we first launched the service in 2024. Yes, okay, so this next slide is our demand details. You can see our total demand, met demand, and completed rides. Again, for calendar 2025, this is per month. Quickly, I will explain what this means. So total demand is our total number of ride requests. Our met demand is the number of requests that was met with the proposal. And then obviously, you know what our completed rides are. I'll expand a little bit. So the disparity between the met demand and completed rides numbers would be customers who chose not to accept the proposal that was given to them via the app or through our agents in booking. And the difference between the met demand and total demand would be no trips available, that we did not have the capacity for it. We've broken down our average Tank Plus ridership by day, weekday and Saturday, and if you recall, we did discontinue our Sunday service in June. So you can see the numbers there. Our Saturday has been picking up, which actually is a good thing. Numbers, numbers, and more numbers. So our service data for our Tank Plus. So we have our met demand, as I explained what that is earlier. You can see that by month. For the entire year, our average was 94.75% of met demand, and that is pretty good. Productivity is our passengers per revenue hour. For the year, we averaged 1.26. ETA is self-explanatory. We averaged 12.63 minutes. That's our estimated time of arrival from the time that is quoted to them to the time that our bus actually arrives. Deviation, this one's a wonderful one. So VIA does not track on-time performance per se on an on-demand service. So with the numbers that you see there are whatever the system quotes to them versus the actual time that we arrive, and that's by minutes. So you can see our highest one was January. We were 2 minutes behind what was actually quoted to us, and that is average monthly. So we are still doing very good there. Driver hours, also self-explanatory. That totals 5,221.3 driver hours for calendar year 2025. So reasons for travel. Medical and shopping and errands still seem to be our top two winners in this particular case, and that's also good. And our heat map, generously provided to us from Miss Olivia, it has our top destinations. I'd like to point out that last year, prior to this point, at one point, the Newport Pavilion used to be our top destination. As you can see, the Covington Transit Center has taken over that spot. And that's actually a good thing, because this would suggest that our transition for the original purpose of our microtransit, and that, of course, is to connect passengers outside of the service area to our fixed route service area. So it seems that we are tracking in this particular area. Booking and payments methods, as well as our ride reviews. You can see our booking methods. 68% of our riders are booking through the app. Of particular concern is our payment method. We are pretty much split down the middle between those that are using a credit card or debit card in the app and cash. What I do not have on here is our rider growth. And for calendar year 2025, returning riders would account for 83% of our ridership, and 70% were new riders. Any questions or comments on Tank Plus?
So before you move on, just a reminder, Tank Plus is the one single zone that we're operating demand response service in Campbell County. Kale, how many hours a day and how many vehicles do we have out at a time?
16 hours a day, two vehicles a day at this point.
So those statistics are based on having 2 vehicles out there running the service.
Just one question on the credit versus cash. In the app, I think the rides booked was 68% on the app, but our cash or our credit was 57%. So do we allow the rider to book through the app but also then pay cash?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
In their profile, they do have a default. So there is a credit card that is stored as a default in there, but they can click on cash if that's what they want to pay by cash.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so let's move on to ramp now.
brought this to the front so
Yes,
you
okay.
could give, sorry, so you could give a little bit of an overview of what RAMP is and some of the requirements.
So apparently I wasn't prepared as I thought.
You
so
are.
You're doing great. Okay. Okay, so this is just a reminder or a refresher, if you will, about our regional area mobility program, better known as our paratransit. As you can see, there's, on the first bullet point, I have FTA regulation as it pertains to paratransit service, the when, why, and fare information as required by the ADA. The ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act. That is what heavily governs what we do in our ramp service. It does mandate that a paratransit service required by the ADA must be comparable, complementary service to fixed route transit for eligible individuals with disabilities, covering the same hours, the same days, 3/4 of a mile outside of our current fixed route service, and the fares no more than double the fixed route fares. The origin minimum through the FTA is curb to curb. However, Tank has been providing door-to-door service since the inception of this program. We do provide next day and up to 1 week advanced reservations, scheduling, if you will. These are the folks that call in and schedule their trips. That is Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, and 10 o'clock to 2 p.m. on Saturday. That is a new addition, and I will cover that a little bit more here momentarily. The next bullet point is the FTA regulation concerning paratransit subscription service. A lot of folks hear about that. These are individuals that do not need to call in to schedule their trips. The FTA defines the subscription service as recurring trips for work, school, etc., and at least 3 times per week. Now the caveat to this, and it's also to and from the same locations. The caveat for this is that we cannot consume more than 50% of any available capacity within each 1 hour block. So example, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., etc. The reason for that is because we need to ensure enough capacity for the actual on-demand rides. Next bullet point concerns our eligibility. So again, FTA regulations for paratransit eligibility under the ADA focuses on individuals' functional ability to use fixed route transit, not just their diagnosis. This is important. The general misconception is that an individual on a mobility device automatically qualifies for this service, and that is simply not true. All buses in Tank's fleet are wheelchair accessible. So, with that being said, every individual who applies for our service has to go through an assessment. If their disability prevents them from boarding, riding, disembarking, or reaching stops, that then would qualify them for the paratransit service. And that's specifically how they would qualify.
Before we move on, any questions about RAMP and the way that we have to operate it to be compliant with ADA, or how we kind of run the service before we move on?
So I think just because I received a specific question around this in November, late November, from a concerned community member, I think I appreciate that you did this overview. I think even to add a little more context, and it was helpful for me when I shared that feedback with you, and Scott, you've also had conversation with this community member. Understanding, the thought was the system would be electronic. However, there were some difficulties with that online scheduling tool.
Correct.
And understanding that it is complicated, but also what I found interesting is that Tank is scheduling and dispatching between 250 to 300 people with special needs every day, while also balancing the ADA requirements. So it's a heavy lift for the Tank team, and they are certainly trying to figure out how to best serve our community and our disabled that are using the service. So I think just keeping our community updated on RAMP is really, really important. And if we can do something where we make this an online tool for them in the future, I would say this is what I hope we can accomplish.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Madam Chair, that was perfect because it's coming up, as you
Okay.
requested.
Excellent.
The only other thing that I think, before we get into the stats, that I'd like to just have you talk a little bit about is the fact that we go over and above our requirements. So the requirement is that every fixed route we operate, we have to provide complimentary ramp service within 3/4 of a mile of that route. We go way beyond that boundary. And we made the decision, the board made the decision to do that 8 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, when we were going through a fare increase. And there was this kind of discussion about what do we do with ramp. We were in a time when we were reducing services and raising fares. And when you reduce services, really you have the ability to bring that ramp boundary in. However, when you do that, you leave people unserved who are dependent on the service. So at the time, the board made the decision to keep our boundaries there, but to separate the ADA boundary from the non-ADA boundary. And we have a different fare for the non-ADA boundary. Did I explain that well?
You did, you
Okay.
did. It was specifically on the system redesign that kind of got muddied because of COVID.
Yeah.
But again, the service area had moved in quite a bit, and we decided not to leave those people out in the cold, so we do have 2 zones that we operate, yes.
Okay. All right, moving
That's right, you moved everything on me.
back to the beginning now.
That's good. We'll find it, we'll get it. Okay, yes, ramp ridership. Now again, everything is calendar year, and the graphs that I have here, and you see our total ridership for 2025 is 65,445 individuals. And again, this is just our ramp ridership. This is our comparison over that should say 2023, that is my fault, over the 3 years. And as you can see, the trends track every year pretty much just about the same. We have high months and low months, and they have remained pretty consistent. Back to the numbers again. Ramp service data. So in this case, so you see our total hours per month on there, and that totals 61,588. Total miles driven was 854,514 miles. Our on-time performance, and this is Mr. Young's, this is his pet project. He absolutely loves on-time performance, and we have averaged in the year of 2025 a 90.52% on-time performance. And then denial rate. This is something that is tracked heavily by the FTA to make sure that our capacity denials don't reach a level that stays the same, because then at this point, tank can be dinged for it, if you will, for lack of a better term. And for
Is there a required percentage rate?
there is not. The wording is that we cannot establish a pattern or practice of denials.
Okay.
So as you see those numbers go up and down, that satisfies the FTA currently. So every 3 years when we go through a denial, they look at different things through this whole organization. That is one thing they look at every single time, is our denial rate, to make sure we're not violating anybody's civil rights. So for calendar year 2025, we averaged 6.67% denial rate, and that's actually a pretty decent denial rate. Okay, Madam Chair, now we are at that part. So recent future improvements, this is my favorite part here. The general manager, I know for sure, received a lot of these. I would assume some of the board members did as well. So during the summer of 2025, we experienced a significant increase in customer complaints concerning call wait times. There were several factors that went into this. A person would be on hold for a long time. They'd finally connect, they'd try to schedule. The system would take 2 minutes to try to think of what it wanted to do, and then it would crash. Now we're telling this person, hey, can you call back in an hour while we're trying to get a hold of our vendor to get this concern fixed? This went on for a few months. So if you place yourself as one of these callers, after a while, you're going to be quite frustrated. So we did discover in October that it was directly related to frequent server crashes due to the demand at our current software vendor site. Once it was discovered, our current software vendor agreed to increase our server capacity. What it did is it significantly reduced the frequency of server crashes, or timeouts is what they called it. Additionally, our WebEx call routing was reconfigured thanks to Mr. Wilkinson. Current resources were reallocated during the busiest call times, and then we did add a 4-hour scheduling window on Saturdays. So I'm very pleased to report that we reduced our call wait time from an average of 15 to 20 minutes to 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So that is a huge improvement, but we can do better, and we will. So our new software vendor that this board approved, and incidentally, I cannot articulate how thankful I am for that. Their new customer app and portal will aid in reducing the call wait times even further. This is where the individuals will be able to schedule their trips online that you were talking about, both in a customer app and also through a portal. In addition, they have a feature called the real-time route optimization. And what that does is it monitors all routes continuously throughout the day. It checks on its performance. What it'll do is it'll pull clients from a route that may be running behind and put it onto a route that actually has some space and is performing better. So our on-time actually will get better. Because of the scheduling, it will allow us to serve more customers, and it will also decrease our call volume in and of itself. So therefore, our call wait times may even go down further than the 2 minutes and 25 seconds. The launch date for the implementation of this software is tentatively scheduled for early March. Originally, it was supposed to be an 8 to 12 month build, but because they have our infrastructure, we currently use this software for our microtransit or Tank Plus. This is going to be reduced significantly. I meet with this vendor weekly, and currently everything is on track to launch. I know I put March 3rd up there. That's what they're shooting for, so we'll see where we go with that.
Okay, early March.
Yes.
Excellent.
Any questions or comments on rent?
I have a question and a comment. Just to be clear, the reallocation was that Kale worked to get more people answering the phones in the first hour on Monday, which we identified as the call time, the source of most of the complaints. And then he added the Saturday morning 4-hour period for people to do that. And then as well, we added a callback feature from WebEx. So like, where your wait time is 30 minutes, would you like a callback rather than sit on hold? And I think that also helped. And then could you just talk just briefly about the senior, what we do for seniors in rent?
The senior transportation, that wasn't included in any of these stats. For those, just a quick refresher again, so our senior transportation was born out of sort of a desperation, and I apologize, I don't have that year on hand, but there was a company in Northern Kentucky who abruptly closed their doors. On a Monday, their board met, on a Friday they closed. We had an emergency meeting at the ad district in Florence, and Tank agreed to take on their fare-paying customers. We have been doing that ever since. Only one requirement, that's 67 years old. However, the fare is $8 each way. This was not anything that Tank initiated. This was something that was prior to that, and we have kept that up. We will be looking at that, our senior program, to see where adjustments could be made. There has not been any significant increase or decrease over these years. We've remained pretty stagnant at this point as far as the senior transportation goes. We do have one bus out every day for 9.5 hours to serve those individuals. Did that answer your question, sir?
And back to RAM service, not to put anyone in the hot seat, but I want to ask the question for understanding, particularly for our audience, if anyone's watching online. The way that the service is currently working, they have to call every morning to get scheduled for the following week.
Yes, ma'am.
With the improvements that are coming in early March, does this process then enable them to do that daily instead of every day for the following week? I'm not sure that I understand how the process
It will be the
works.
same process, so you can schedule for next day, not same day, but next day, up to a week in advance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's helpful.
Starting in March, you will be able to do that through the app.
Through the
As
app.
well?
Online.
Yes.
Online.
Or
Online.
calling.
Or call.
Yes,
Both
either direction. And
options will be available.
obviously, we have a lot of clients who will not use the app, they will call, but
Okay.
we have a lot of individuals, social workers, et cetera, that have a group of individuals that they schedule for. These are the ones that are going to help. There's also other little tools that will be very helpful. They'll be able to track the bus. There will also be a caregiver portal that caregivers will be able to log on to. They will know where the bus is at all times that are picking up their loved ones, either how far away they are or where they're at if they're on the bus. That will also reduce a lot of call times as far as where is my bus calls. We get a lot of those. So think of it as like, I don't know, DoorDash or Uber, you can see where your vehicle is. The app and the website portal will also have that feature on it, so they can see exactly where their bus is.
Very good.
Yeah. Technology has
That's
come
nice.
a long way in this
Yes.
area.
Yes, thank
Over
you.
the last few years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Kale, that was a lot of information. Thank you for your patience in answering questions. Next, we have the general manager's report, which will be provided by Ms. Dentit.
I do have a few things today. So I've worked out a board meeting schedule for the rest of the year, and I think I've sent everyone calendar invites for the first half. As a reminder, our bylaws do call for monthly board meetings and then committee meetings. So the way that it's working out is that I'm doing committee meetings about every other month and then a board meeting each month. We do have 2 months where we will do a combined committee meeting. One of those will be to talk about budget, and those work out really well. I think the format of those allows for good discussion. So watch your calendars for those. Monday was the first day of service for the Licking River Link. Reminder, that's a route that is sponsored by KYTC. The 4th Street Licking River Bridge project, which kicked off on Monday. For those of you that work in Covington, I'm sure you've seen the impacts of that. For the next 2 or 3 years, the route will operate to connect the west side of Newport with the east side of Covington, primarily focused on helping people that used to use the 4th Street Bridge as a pedestrian or bicycle corridor. A lot of people live on one side of the bridge and work on the other, and a lot of those folks don't have a vehicle. So that 4th Street Bridge was really a vital link for them, and this bus service will hopefully help that out. We did get quite a lot of media coverage to help promote that service, so that was good. A couple of the TV stations actually rode the bus and talked to customers, so we're getting some good promotion out of that. In your board packet, toward the end, you'll see some of the marketing and outreach activities that we were busy with at the end of the year. One of those was our Stuff the Bus event, which we have now done for about 15 years to support the Be Concerned food pantry, which is in Covington. We collected a bus full of food and toiletries. You can see a picture in the packet, amounting to about 1,700 pounds. So they always weigh our gift. And they're very grateful for us to provide that service. Lastly, our HR team has been implementing phase 1 of our new HRIS. Our payroll is the first module to go into effect. That team has put in a lot of hours, and they're trying to make sure that that implementation is as seamless as possible. And I want to thank Debbie Sharkey in particular. You've put in a lot of time, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I think that's it for me.
I will say on the 12th Street Bridge, I was glad to see that they clearly marked a bike lane and secured it with cones. So it does protect people. But yes, it is a little cumbersome coming across, but we know that will work itself out. Thank you. Any old business for discussion? Any new business? All right, Mr. Duncan, do we have a general counsel's report today?
Just a very short comment. At the last meeting, you all were reminded to turn in your Attorney General's acknowledgement forms for the Open Meetings and Open Records Act material. You all are probably aware that we are a special purpose governmental entity, SPGE, which means that we're a public agency and subject to the Kentucky Sunshine Laws, Open Meetings, Open Records. And periodically, the Attorney General sends out information, typically after there's been a change in the statutes. And it's been a number of years since they sent one out. And they want everyone to acknowledge receipt of that as an indication that you've received it. And you're supposed to read it and understand it. If you have any questions about it, I'll be glad to try to answer those either now or in the future as they come up. But those are very important. There's becoming more and more litigation among against public agencies about violations. So we need to make sure that we follow the Open Meetings and Open Records Act. And that's the Attorney General's. The Attorney General is in charge of compliance, and they're the first arbiter of whether or not there is compliance by public agencies. So just to remind you all, the Attorney General dings us every once in a while with those compliance. Gina collected all of those. You all did return those, and I acknowledged to the Attorney General that we are in compliance with that, and they've acknowledged receipt of my notice. So that's all.
Great. I'm glad we do not have to have you coming after us to ask again. So thank you to the board. All right, it looks like we cannot again approve our minutes for the November meeting, so we'll push that to the next meeting. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Also moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Kale.